The world isn't a nice place. It's not a fair place. Some people are good, some people are bad. Tragedy, success, beauty and ugliness. All these things exist in the world, in people's hearts, in society, in jobs, in the government, history, the future. It's true. And, it's up to most people on their own to figure out what the right and wrong mean. What's the right, what's best for yourself and people around you. People care about their family, their friends, their country. They used to, at least. But sometimes there's an event that happens that just tugs at the heartstrings of anyone who hears about it. And it can be because it's just too real or perfectly real, designed in a way to hit all the right notes. And by the right notes, usually those are the last notes people want to hear, because they make you feel awful, make you think, they make you change your opinion on something or reinforce what you thought you already knew or stuff like that. Changes how you think about things. Usually that can be a good thing, because people are supposed to always be learning, growing, questioning everything, trying to understand, and it's called the pursuit of truth. This is something that philosophers have been doing for thousands of years. And now the thing is, not just philosophers understand what it means to understand truth, the mind, perception. This is also what psychologists study. This is what religion's for. This is what math is for. Science, journalism. And, reporters, the media, comedy, satire. All these things exist in order to have a better tomorrow some way. People find out what they're good at, and a good person, someone with a heart, will do their best to try to change things that they know are wrong. The one problem with this is not everyone is good. That's kind of the entire point of Christianity, for example, is about sins, being a sinner. And some of the worst sins are things like corruption and greed, and because it makes people lie, deceive, deceit, steal. All the while, though, when it's the people in charge doing this, they make sure that people see the sins and the crime and the problems in the person next door, in each other, in themselves. And that becomes reality. That's how people start to perceive things. Stuff like this, when done on a big enough scale, in enough ways, without anyone mentioning it ever, is how you get, for example, an entire country, the oldest functioning democracy to ever exist in modern times, become completely divided between the people, to have separate media bubbles, to have parties that don't get along, to have a president that says the opposite of what many people want to hear every time he speaks, to have presidential candidates like Bernie Sanders running away from a Fox News reporter in the halls of DC, saying Fox News isn't real news over and over again, and then everyone thinking that makes Bernie Sanders a hero for free speech in America. No, this stuff is stupid. And, you know, there's a lot of it that happens. But I can pick up on some of it. Why? I don't know. Probably because I've studied media, journalism, psychology, history, political science, social science, many things, you know. Hold on. I'm not just some wise guy who thinks I know everything. I just know how much I don't know. But what I do know, I try to know pretty well and apply it to everything that I do or think about. You know, I'm a creative person. This is something that is studied. You know, I think I have a high level of creative intelligence because I work at it. So I can piece things together that other people might miss. This is what doctors, lawyers, artists, you know, those kind of people, or brain surgeons. It's the stuff they do best. Now, it's really upsetting when people... Oh, it's upsetting to other people when they're halfway to something that seems true, but they get it all wrong, but it makes sense to them anyways, because they're just not thinking past the problem enough. For example, conspiracy theorists. This is... I knew a lot of them in person. The internet now makes them all reinforce each other. You know, when people are paranoid and have delusions and usually think they're the part of some kind of a vast conspiracy, you know, that's a mental disorder. It happens to people who are schizophrenic, Alzheimer's patients, drug addicts. You know, it happens. When something like 9/11 happens, when the World Trade Center falls down, when thousands of people die because something that no one heard of, Al-Qaeda, led by a guy no one knew about, except, you know, the CIA, the government, the Afghanistan, you know, the whole world knew about this guy, and he had a plan, and he carried it out. That was the 9/11 attacks. That was his life's dream, apparently. The way a lot of people cope with something like that is that they can't think about what Bin Laden must have been thinking. Why, to him, this was, you know, was a good thing to do. Why, how he pulled it off. How these people got infiltrated to Newark Airport. They had the lessons. They had the box cutters. They flew the planes right into the towers. Some people knew people who died. Many people did die in there. Then a movie called Loose Change came out, which apparently, when it was first being produced, it was a documentary on, like, religion or something. I mean, I don't know if it had anything to do with the World Trade Center, but some dude shows up and says, "No, I'll tell you what the people like. They like a thriller with a conspiracy. You know, like a Hollywood movie. The good soundtrack. Make it sinister. Blame the government. People like that." And, you know, I guess they did, because it became rather, you know, it's one of the first hits on YouTube. Seen tens of millions of times. And there are still people today that, I don't know how many of them are serious about it, that are so convinced that the government or the Jews, the Zionists, that they took down the World Trade Center to control demolition. And I know people, I love trying to argue with these people just because I'm trying to figure out how they think, but I know a lot of people get into debates with these people and get frustrated, wondering how could anyone be so stupid, so arrogant, so insular thinking, so eager to reject real science or logic, and just use the same few sources to convince themselves, no, we're right, everyone else is wrong. Well, that's because they're delusional. They deluded themselves. The internet lets people reinforce this with fake sources, with fake science, with distortions of truth, with videos where people show faces and say they're the same person. See, these are crisis actors, which also is part of a mental disorder when you can't identify you have messed up facial recognition and you see attributes of a face everywhere. It's hard for you to just see the identity of someone unless, maybe you see him move or talk. It's like facial dyslexia or something. It's like dyslexic people with words, but people have that with faces. Don't I feel bad for those people, but sometimes something does happen that some people see through right away, but I don't know how many people connect all the dots. And sometimes when people do, they're called crazy, because often by the same people who think that school shooters it's all staged and all the dead children are I don't know what they think. They just think they're alive, or they never were born in the first place. That's the thing. The school shootings, I guess, that people get so suspicious about, because it's real upsetting when something bad happens to a little kid. It's hard for you not to want to ban guns, or maybe if you don't want that, to say we should have security guards in the schools with guns, because you don't want the kids. Both people don't want kids to die, and they talk past each other because when it's about children, innocent kids that don't deserve something like that happening to them, they're just American kids, like a lot of us were one day. It makes people think and care, and it changes their minds sometimes on issues. Now, this is something that should be obvious to anyone. That, a child undergoing some kind of tragedy while at school, where they're just trying to learn, it's sad. It can whip people up into a frenzy, to be honest. But the thing is, with these when a school gets shot up, when a kid gets beat up, when someone is made fun of their whole life in school, bullying, you hear about them killing themselves sometimes at the end of it. That doesn't, those things, those everyday things, because don't really change public perception too much, because they happen every day. And there's not a film crew popping up to show every moment. There's not getting shared everywhere on Facebook. There's not a perfect picture. There's not, maybe it doesn't hit all the right notes at the same time and have everyone talking about it. Because that's very rare. And nowadays, even terrorist attacks in America, like that happened a couple of days ago, people don't even want to talk about those things. But there are, people say, the powers that be, the forces at work, Satan or New World Order. That means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And I understand that some people like to have that symbology to it, of what evil is like. To mislead people, to be corrupt, to lie, to just fuck with people, to tell someone to take a bite out of that apple even though you were told that's the last thing you should do. Trust me, do it. It'll be awesome. The original sin, was some bullshit artist. And I bet some people there were like, wait a second, there's lots of apples we can eat over there. Why eat that one? It doesn't make any sense. I bet they were called crazy by the other person there, whatever. Now, what am I getting at? The clock kid. Whatever his name was. Muhammad, that's just a guess. I don't really remember. Wow, I haven't seen a story like that in a while take off. It just seems so perfect. The kid had a NASA shirt on. He had a tear down his face. He was sad. He was being let out in handcuffs. The president commented on it. Mark Zuckerberg offered him a scholarship or something. Millions of people thought, oh my God. How could America do that to a kid who has a NASA shirt on? Someone an inventor. He could have made the next space shuttle. He must be this is what America is nowadays. Islamophobic. Or our greatest minds, just because they're brown and they pray to Mecca, we don't tolerate them. Wow. It's been like that. I guess that's why war is bad. Because, the Iraq war was a mistake, and, an American sniper was just anti-Muslim bigotry too. Man, I don't want to hear about this ISIS stuff. It's obviously Islamophobic as well. Who cares about Syria? I'm going to talk about the clock kid. Because he's an American hero. Wait, where did he go? Oh, he's gone? He went to Yemen or something? Is he ever coming back? A week or two pass. Oh, the clock kid is... Oh, that made me sad. He's suing America for $20 million. My country sucks. I hope he wins. I hope they treat him better in Qatar. I wonder if they're Islamophobic there like us. Man, all these Republicans sound crazy. They keep talking about going to about Syria and the Russians and ISIS. They all sound racist and Islamophobic. I don't trust them at all. Because I just think of the clock kid. That's what America has turned into. Our greatest minds, the people with integrity, just trying to show off their proud invention of a clock to everyone they saw over and over again, even when the teacher said, put that away. Now he's left America. Now I feel empty. I'm sad. I'm not proud of my country anymore because of the clock kid. I bet millions of people really feel that way. The funny thing is, within about one day, because of the internet, because of the good side of the internet, which is that people with expertise in various fields can, pick up on something that other people probably don't, because, when you see that perfect photograph of him, being dragged out, most people just think emotionally. But, that's the good thing about engineers, scientists, analysts, and even a lot of, artistic people too. They look at things different. They're always expecting something different. They're the people who are really inventors. And within about one day, I think, someone on YouTube said, "Here, I'm the clock kid now. I bought this from Target or Walmart. Watch." He ripped out the guts of a clock, made it, glued it in a box to make it look like a bomb, and said, "Here, this is what the kid did. It's the exact same parts. They match up. See, I knew exactly what he was doing, and there was even a timer in there for no reason. Why would you invent a clock that has some digital alarm and all this stuff? It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense." This was reported on, but it was kind of lost in the, because what, some random engineer posting to YouTube isn't quite as attention grabbing as the president of the United States inviting this kid who is already long gone to America, to the White House for fucking, I don't know, a Medal of Honor to apologize for America. And I watched people on Facebook, the masses, thousands, tens of thousands of comments in some of these stories, especially when the kid went away, when he just disappeared, saying, "Come back, clock kid, come back. I can't believe America made him leave." But they never even thought, why would someone, being told they can go to Yale, they'll get a free ride anywhere. He was an American hero because he made a clock and he's a Muslim. Why would he leave if so many people seem to care so much, to be on his side? Why does he hate us? Why is his father? Why does his father have thousands of videos on Palestinian television dressed up like a clerk, like a Muslim clerk guy, a preacher, saying that the Jews are evil, and it's like some bad sketch comedy? Oh, that's what I wondered, but I don't think people went that far. This whole thing, the clock kid, the perfect photograph right when he was being taken out, ignoring how bomb threats are taken seriously, how this happens every day, how people like me have been interrogated by the FBI, our constitutional rights violated because of a scare in a school over a website or something. How I know people personally that were kicked out of public school and they were expelled for writing something that was perceived as a bomb threat when it was probably a joke. People send messages in Facebook chats saying, "Man, I hate my class. I should just blow it up." They go to jail for saying that. The funny thing about the clock kid, he didn't even get in trouble. He didn't get suspended. He didn't get expelled. He got handcuffs on him because they thought he was probably crazy and going to try to grab one of their guns because he made a fake bomb and showed it to everybody. I'm sure a cop looked at it and said, "Why you made a fucking bomb? Why?" But in the media, I was wondering, when were they going to show a picture of this clock invention he made? Because no one was doing that. They were showing the kid in handcuffs. That was the picture you saw. And the way I think, I was just wondering, well, if everyone seems scared, it's probably not because of what he looks like. It's probably because of what the fake clock looked like. Where is that? And I even went on Google. I searched for a little while. And what a surprise, I couldn't find a picture. So, a few days later, went out, and then one guy immediately figured it all out. I think he was they talked about him on Fox News, maybe. But, that's Fox News isn't real news. And now, millions of people had the idea reinforced that America is intolerant towards Muslims, that white people are racist, that cops suck, that our schools are evil, I don't know, that people aren't allowed to invent things. And you know what this Islamophobia meme ends up causing? Which people, someone like Sam Harris has been trying to, his career is being completely ruined, his voice undermined, like Ben Affleck on the HBO's Real Time. Sam Harris is a smart guy. He studies he was a neuroscientist. I study that. And he likes philosophy and stuff, and why people think. He's trying to talk about just how Muslims think, how not all Muslims, but the more extreme ones, the ones that are more likely to support, something like ISIS. And he got shouted down for being racist over and over again. And now there's a lot of people I mentioned, I never listened to Sam Harris. I never liked thought I didn't like his opinions because he was telling kids that religion's stupid. And when I figured it out on my own when I was like 11, and I was like, I don't believe in God anymore. I was a Catholic. Then around the same time I heard about the new atheists. I didn't even know what an atheist was, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna listen to these guys. They're stupid, and I don't want them changing how I think about things. It's funny, then 10 years later, I'm checking out Sam Harris after Ben Affleck just fucking raged on him. Like, oh wow, Sam Harris and me agree on literally everything. And I figured it out on my own. Interesting. I bet E wasn't very happy with the clock hit either. Because it makes people not want to talk about things like ISIS or Al-Qaeda, or why people are trying to modify Kalashnikov rifles, like what happened a few days ago, to make them automatic and wear all the body armor and have pipe bombs and other forms of improvised explosive devices, and go killing a dozen, 24 people, injured 30, just in America, a few days ago. In Paris, a week ago, these kill hundreds of people, all while yelling Allahu Akbar for Syria, long live ISIS, death to America, death to Israel. People don't even in America, people were still talking about gun control and Republicans and the NRA when these body armor clad fuckers just are killing people like trained soldiers, or at least thinking like one, like they're in a war against what? The West freedom. Who would do that? Who would attack America? Even if America treated them well, just because, of their beliefs. Like, for example, on 9/11, who the fuck is Bin Laden? Obviously, the American government did that. I hate America as well, so, even though I'm an American. That's the problem with these kind of things. They make people completely fucking retarded and totally ignorant of reality, of international affairs, of self-defense, of national security, of terrorism, of geopolitics, of, they don't know what to hate or what to be afraid of. They don't know what's real. Because, whenever someone starts talking about, when someone running for president says, oh man, we gotta figure out how to counter the Russians, stabilize Syria, fight ISIS, like a Republican would be. when someone like Ben Carson says, yeah, I get I'm briefed every day. There's Chinese stuff there. It's getting out of control. There's terrorists here. The propaganda's at play, making everyone think they not believe anything I'm saying. It's getting ridiculous. But I believe Americans aren't as stupid as they think they are. What do people think? Well, I agree with Ben Carson on a lot of things he says. I agree with Sam Harris. I think they would get along very well. In fact, I've emailed Ben Carson's campaign and tweeted at Sam Harris a bunch of times saying, hey, Ben Carson's a neurosurgeon who was a psychology major. Sam Harris, you're a neuroscientist. Ben Carson has tons of research articles on the brain. He's a neuroscientist. If you guys are frustrated about Islamic terrorism, maybe you guys should talk sometime, and maybe you'd find you have more in common than you realize. Because even though he's a Christian, for some reason you hate religious people, but now you're just so upset about the lack of ethics and values and common sense. Call it Judeo-Christian, ethics and values and common sense that the Bible teaches people. You think that Ben Carson is probably stupid. That's how the powers that be, the forces in play, that's how dangerous they are, Sam. Maybe you should open your mind a little. I said this to him a couple of times. I watched an interview of him on the Secular Logic show where he was so angry, so confused. You didn't understand why Edward Snowden was a hero. Why some guy, Glenn Greenwald from fucking Brazil, is just shit talking to him every day, undermining everything he says, talking about American imperialism. Why Salon.com is churning out headlines calling him racist, Islamophobic. How he's so mad, Sam Harris, that his reputation is smeared, probably ruined. People are intolerant of him. He's losing venues to talk. People really hate him. And I told him, you feel that way about Ben Carson, when you guys probably would have an amazing conversation. Maybe you could change people's minds on Ben Carson if you change your own first. Because, people like you and him, and I feel like myself, we're the first ones to have our credibility undermined, our reputation ruined, be called crazy, ignorant, stupid, racist, uninformed. Probably because we've read a lot of books and know history and psychology. This stuff makes you immune to a lot of things, but not everything. And now, I don't know if I had anything to do with it. People probably tweet shit to Sam Harris all the time. But just a week or two ago, after a podcast I listened to, it was a good interview with Sam Harris and some, raging British classic liberal guy. He ends up saying that I'd rather vote for Ben Carson than one of these people who seem like they live in another reality. One of these people who don't understand ISIS, terrorism, the dangers that we face every day, the escalating threats, the intolerance that exists, the people who hate our freedoms, like freedom of speech and religion. And he said, well, even though Ben Carson, even though he's a religious zealot, even though he denies evolution, macro, micro, I'm not going to clarify that in this podcast, but I'd rather vote for Ben Carson, because at least he understands foreign affairs and international politics and religion, cultural values that some people don't have, the ones that Americans have. Boy, that caused quite the outrage. You know, it was a 2-hour long podcast, I think, and it was all anyone heard. And now, Sam Harris and Ben Carson were in the headlines together. Of course, all the headlines were saying they're both retarded and crazy, and obviously Islamophobic and stupid and racist, and now you can't trust either of them. But that's what's funny about it, is that I was telling both of those guys in emails and tweets that no one replies to, that they should trust each other because they think alike. They're not, they think they're just smart people, they're educated. So, did I have anything to do with that? I don't know, probably, but... And what you guys should think from that is that, no, maybe isn't that Ben Carson the greatest neurosurgeon that I've ever heard of. I read one of his books. It was very impressive. I watched a lot of his lectures on YouTube. I get him when he speaks. People don't. It's because he needs a chance to talk. He's not a politician. He doesn't talk in sound bites. He doesn't have notes. He has ideas. Different ideas. He thinks outside the box. So does Sam Harris. So do I. So do a lot of painters, musicians, writers, doctors, neuroscientists. It's just common sense. It's what people are missing out on nowadays. And about the clock kid, about this, why Ben Carson is saying, oh, the propaganda is making everyone think I want to pull out the social safety nets, that I think the earth is 6,000 years old, that this and that I'm an extreme right-wing whack job, when I used to be a Democrat and even left the Republican Party during the Bill Clinton investigation because the Republicans were too hypocritical when they were cheating on their wives and trying to bust Bill Clinton for it. I left the Republican Party, but I rejoined it now because it's what I believe in, the Republic. And Sam Harris is going, everyone thinks I'm racist, everyone thinks I'm crazy, everyone thinks I want to nuke the Middle East. No one even wants to listen to me anymore. I wrote a book with a Muslim guy. Everyone's making fun of, insulting him and me. These horrible slurs that get shared everywhere. It's like I'm being undermined. Now, I can't even talk to people I know in real life without them thinking I'm schizophrenic, stupid, ignorant, uninformed. This guy doesn't like the Daily Show. This guy doesn't believe in white privilege. This guy didn't cry when the clock kid left America forever. You know the reason the clock kid made everyone so sad and then he left? It's called a psychological operation. Psych ops. A useful asset for a propaganda campaign to undermine a functioning democracy, to alter public opinion, and to, gridlock Congress, and to make foreign policy decisions be stupid as hell. You know who are experts in this kind of stuff? He pretty much wrote the book on it after they, destroyed the government that kind of figured out how to do it in the modern era. It's the Russians. Something that people should understand is that the Russians are back. They never really went away. You know, the Soviet Union didn't collapse that long ago. And, you know, lots of people lived through a Cold War. People my age still kind of remember being told to hide under the desks because the Russians might nuke the entire world and kill us all. You know, and they were hearing the same thing every day too. People were afraid at the other guy over there on the other side of the planet. So we all have to work together as Americans or Soviets to say, fuck that guy. Let's win all the gold medals at the Olympics. Let's go to space. Let's make awesome movies where they're the villain. Let's, you know, be everywhere in the world fighting that other guy because they suck. And we want to have democracy everywhere. We want to do what's right. We're Americans. But now, every problem that exists, people think, is because of American imperialism. Which is exactly what the other guys were saying to their own people every day. You know, there's some truth in that. But we were hearing how communism is going out of control. How they don't have freedom of speech. They can't vote. Chinese students try to protest it. Tanks come in and run them all over. How it sucks. How the media is all lies, controlled by the government. We don't believe in that stuff. We're Americans. We're defenders of the free world. Fuck Russia. Man, that's why John Paul II is considered, in my opinion, he's the best pope of all time, which is saying not a lot about most of them, but he's a hero. And I don't know where, I wish he'd come back. So yeah, the Clock Kid, I don't know for sure, but the fact that there was a film crew outside to take the photograph, that he was wearing a NASA shirt, that his father has media connections in Middle Eastern hate speech things about Israel, that the story all of a sudden went everywhere in the media. At the same time, even the president and Mark Zuckerberg and all these people had a comment on it. Your Facebook feed never ended with it. How the kid, his whole family, once people, you know, started saying, wait a second, this wasn't an invention. He just pulled the guts out of a clock and put it in a shoebox like a fake bomb. He wasn't even in trouble. He just missed half a day of school. And now everyone loves him. That's not too bad. In fact, what a lucky break for the kid. All of a sudden, you know, without anyone realizing it, his whole family got yanked out. It's called being exfiltrated. Taken to another country. And now, just to stay in the headlines, they're going to file a lawsuit here and there. Maybe the Clock Kid will... Maybe in a few weeks, there'll be a video of the Clock Kid at his new university. Where everyone, you know, in the Middle East somewhere. And he'll probably say, man, I've never been happier now that I left America. You know, it kind of reminds me of Elian Gonzalez. He's a proud communist now. He talks, he gets into all the interviews saying the Castros saved his life. The best thing that ever happened to him was his mother's sacrifice being meaningless because he went right back to Cuba to work for the government and be on TV saying, Hail Castro, communism forever, death to America. I bet that's how the Clock Kid will turn out. And you know who probably thought of this? Some fucking Russian motherfucker. Because here's a secret. The Clock Kid, that was a troll. a psyop is basically what a real troll knows how to do. When I watch the analysts try to explain things, they call it maskirovka, Russian deception. The experts are always saying you have to understand the Russian psychology. I don't know if they know exactly what they're saying. Some do. But, maybe it's because I'm Polish. And maybe my brain is similar to the Russians. It's troll psychology. Experts in manipulation, deception, messing with people's minds, being funny even. And wow, the Claw Kid, what a great troll. It was just so perfect, wasn't it? And the fact that the media was tipped off, everyone had an opinion. All these holes started appearing in the story right away. It makes no logical sense. He even had NASA on his shirt. When he was probably, you just look at the guy, he doesn't even look, he looks like he could have been Indian or something. You can't tell the kid's a Muslim looking at him. But everyone thinks that, because he's a Muslim, which I doubt people even knew or cared about. That's why, see my fake bomb? Because America hates Muslims. So let's stay out of the Middle East. But, man, Putin, that guy, now he's a real leader. He's taking charge in the Middle East. Just let him do what he wants. The Iranians, the Assad, Russia, I trust them. Just like our president does. No, I'm sorry, people. Trust me. I've tried to say this here and there. A lot of people, they're just very confused. And they think I'm crazy when I just say, the Russians are back.